My dad yelled at us over using sunscreen. I, 30F, want to preface this by saying I am almost in C with my bio dad for a million reasons. However, this summer was my grandma's 80th birthday and my family got together to celebrate. It was my dad's mom, so he was there along with 5 out of 6 of us kids. Youngest is 19 and I turned 30 soon after the trip. One of these days of the visit, we did a sibling beach day which included our dad. My sister, 25, and I were putting on sunscreen. Our aunt literally just had skin cancer removed from her scalp. We made sure we weren't near anyone and were only spraying ourselves/each other. My dad flipped because sunscreen is on a long list of things he doesn't believe in and thinks is toxic. He started shouting at us that we were spraying it on other people. Not even him, just the wind may have carried it onto the bag of somewhere near us. I stood my ground and explained we literally checked prior to starting to make sure no one was around to get sprayed. This resulted with him getting into a few inches from my face and yelling at me aggressively to keep talking back and see what happens, which resulted in me having a panic attack because of my PTSD, which he then belittled me for and said I needed to get over. He then later on the trip criticized my choice in men, despite him literally being the reason I am so comfortable being with people who are abusive. He also caused me to miss my flight because he was busy screaming at my grandma until she cried. Airport was over an hour away and no public transportation in this area. He gets upset I don't stay in contact with him and that I'm closer to my stepdad than him. I literally only see him at family events maybe once or twice a year, and we have virtually no relationship with each other outside of that. I still love him because he's my dad, but he is trash at being a parent and did some serious psychological and sometimes physical damage on me and my siblings. I am way better off when he's not around, and the older I get, the harder it is to associate with him. You are my kids. I can give you cancer if I want. Didn't think that I would be posting here, but I need help. My mom has apparently been on a 37-year period and has dreaded the fact that she had me, 15M, and my brother, 9. So much that she has been yelling, assaulting, and trying to purposefully off me and my brother by smoking and vaping around us. She has only seen me as a slave to her work because I basically have to be the real parent since I have had to take care of my brother at home while having to go to a terrible school and try to balance both of my lives at once. She has recently told me to get off her case about her vaping, and she said, I can smoke, vape, or even hit a bong on my house all I want. These are my damn rules. What makes it worse is the fact that I have discovered that she has 4 different hunting rifles in our house. Should I call someone? Did my parents overreact this day? One day after work, I decided I had enough money to buy an Xbox Series X. Later that day, my parents got kind of upset with me that I did it even though I bought it with my own money and still had plenty of money. Also, they have got upset with me because I use Rocket Money, an app that allows me to keep track of my budget, keep me from overspending. But she thought it was not a good site to have, so she forced me to cancel my account. Then they got super mad because my brother and his wife told them that I posted some disgusting videos on TikTok which had a sexy girl dressed like Spider-Man dancing and stretching her legs, and other ones with some harsh language. But funny, for example, when COD Warzone King Kong jumped in front of the screen, it played Move Bitch Get Out of the Way music. I told her that the videos were really not that inappropriate, but she said that's just an opinion. I got super mad at my brother, and I called him out being an overreactive tattletale. Then he told my mom, and they got mad at me some more, and I went back home crying. Then I apologized to my brother. I know that my parents love me. I just think they're being overprotective and controlling. What do you guys think? Mother can't handle walking away. My mother and I have been through a lot. We've had multiple phases of our relationship being rocky, and this year it's only be getting worse and worse. The beginning of the summer, I gave her the ultimatum of we're not able to work through this all on our own anymore. We need a therapist, and the boundary that she's not allowed to say things that invalidate my experience, like, I never did that, or that didn't happen. Yesterday, my mom does one of these things she does, where she says, I'm going to tell you something that you probably won't like to hear. This time, it's a familiar one. I feel like you don't care about contributing to the household because you won't give me your school grant money that's left over after your tuition is paid. I shut the fudge up because we've had this conversation 5 times. It's not worth me telling her the same things I always tell her for a fight to break out. So I leave it and I walk away. Then, less than an hour later, she's like, I have something else I want to say. At which point I tell her no. I tell her I don't want to talk. I don't want to repeat the same conversation we've had. She pushes me and I blow up a little. She expresses that she thinks she's had an epiphany as to why she's feeling the way she does. I say, okay, I'm sorry I blew up a bit there. Let me calm down for a minute. We go on to have a fairly productive conversation until I trigger her. The reason I'm putting those quotation marks in there is not because I don't think triggers are real or any of that stuff, but rather because this particular trigger is any description of her behavior as being negative. Words that are banned because of this trigger are as follows: yell, shout, scream, snap, snarl, gripe, complain, criticize, raise your voice, nasty, mean, loud, tense, angry. We were having a productive conversation about appreciation and the ability to show it. She was talking about how she wishes I would do work in front of her, or talk to her about how she looks tired, etc. I was expressing the fact that I have taught myself never to do these things, because some of the time it's the wrong thing to do, and she screams at me. Obviously, I didn't say that because I was dancing around the trigger words, but you get my drift. I believe my exact sentence was, you can have a negative reaction, snap or yell at me, or just be upset. Her reaction to this trigger is always resorting to dismissing what I am telling her and telling me it didn't happen. This is really hard for me to hear from you right now because I haven't yelled at you for years. We had a fight at the beginning of the summer that led to me giving her that ultimatum about finding a therapist, in which I finally managed to meet all of her requirements of me regulating my behavior and walked away appropriately, even though she was screaming bloody murder at me from the kitchen as I was going down the stairs. So I walked away, as I told her I would every time she invalidates my experience. We didn't talk for the rest of that day. Today, people are sleeping in. I see on my phone she had to go out at 2 a.m. to help the family friend, so I take care of the dogs. I'm finishing getting my breakfast in the kitchen when suddenly everyone else in the household is present. My mother says thank you for feeding the dogs, and I want to be nasty to her. I'm frustrated about the day before, and I'm angry at her, and resentful that she can go out of her freaking way to help this random kid, but she doesn't care enough about our relationship to manage her own triggers. So I don't say anything. I ignore her, and I take my food and I leave. I don't trust myself enough in that moment to say anything nice, so I don't say anything. Not immediately, but within the next 5 minutes, she comes down to my room to ask me if I'm not speaking to her. I say no, I'm not. She says why not, and I say I'm feeling angry right now. This is unacceptable to her. She's telling me that why could I possibly be angry? It went so well, everyone did great. She's standing in my doorway, trapping me in my room, trapping me in this conversation, demanding an explanation for why I feel the way I'm feeling and why I chose to not engage with her. I did my best to stay as calm as I could and communicate clearly about what I was feeling and why, but nothing I said was acceptable to her. It wasn't okay that I felt angry because of her actions. It wasn't okay that I felt frustrated that she's unable to even try to manage her triggers. It wasn't okay that I'm upset that I'm always the one that has to remove myself from the situation, and she's standing there, glaring at me, asking me to calm down. I have no way to walk away. She has trapped me in my room, in this conversation, and is repeatedly telling me that nothing happened. I have to scream bloody murder at her that she needs to leave in order to get her out of my doorway and get out of the freaking conversation. She's allowed to tell me anytime I'm too loud, or I sound angry, or I'm shouting, or I'm screaming, or anything. She's allowed to tell me that I'm invalidating her feelings anytime that she wants to, or that I need to calm down or walk away. But she never walks away. She never manages her triggers, or treats me with the freaking baseline respect of assuming that I'm not lying to make her look bad. I'm so freaking sick of this. She thinks she's entitled to my emotional support of her at any point in time, without regards what I'm thinking or feeling, and she's entitled to say whatever the fudge she wants about my behavior. But if I ever criticize her, I'm the bad guy and nothing happened. She never apologizes for her behavior. She never makes amends. And she never changes her behavior. She thinks she's entitled to my constant improvement without putting any effort into our relationship. I wish to God I didn't have to live here. My life is the best it's been in a long time. And she seems dead freaking set on making sure that the beginning of my semester is a freaking nightmare. I am so close to being able to take on an actual career and actually break free of this crap. I'm about to get a goal I've been working for so long to reach. She doesn't see that she's burning these bridges between us by refusing to even try to improve our relationship. Did my mom go too far this day? One time I accidentally knocked something over with a bunch of glass balls and liquid. I swept it up, then I used the vacuum cleaner to get it all up before I went to school. Then later, she tried to vacuum out the dryer, then found out it wasn't working. I told her what happened. She got really mad at me and started screaming and berating me, and I was crying. I'm like, please stop. I told her I didn't mean to do it. I was only trying to clean up the spilled mess I made. I didn't think it was going to really hurt the vacuum that much. But she kept yelling at me and tried to make me fix the vacuum when I was in a broken state. I don't like spending time with my dad. I'm a naturally distant person and I require a lot of alone time to recharge, so I spend most of my day immersing myself in various solitary activities, and my father never really got that. He's constantly checking on me, asking me what I'm doing, inspecting my room, wakes me up at 9 o'clock each morning, which isn't bad. I just suffer from insomnia, so I need to sleep in, and gets upset when I don't want to watch YouTube with him for 4 hours straight. I hope I'm not being dramatic, but I don't want to consume conservative versus liberal media for several hours when I could be doing something I enjoy. I'm not a very sociable person, which has been exacerbated by my mental illness. My room is my safe space. I feel horrible for blowing him off when he just wants to see me. Am I being a jerk, or is this reasonable? Want to claim my mom by marrying her? Have fun getting a divorce. I don't know if my story belongs here, but here it goes. For context, my biological father traumatized me and my mom when I was 3. My mom already had bad experiences in the past with men, and I from then was terrified of them too, but she was still open for dating and wanted me to have a father figure since the original one was a clear no LMFAO. So she met a guy that I'll call Steve, and ever since I can remember I never had a good feeling about him. That feeling was quickly explained by lots of weird things that happened when I was still too young to remember, so I'm telling you here what my mom told me, and of course as the years passed I remembered more, so here it goes. She met this guy on a dating app and the feeling between them passed correctly, though some stuff were odd. He was relying on his parents a lot for money-related things, and his ex was quite literally crazy. They had a dog which he had to pay the food for, but never got to. See, and it was perfectly fine with him, but my mom, being his partner, put an end to this very quickly. Steve never had any children nor never was a close uncle to his nephews, so he never actually knew what taking care of a child implied. This is important for later. As the years passed, he was getting more and more aggressive with me mostly, and I never knew why. He would constantly yell at me for no reasons, and I remember a few particular instances where he really got on my nerves. The first one was when I was around 10 years old. I was walking around on a weekend in my own house in a tank top and an underwear, normal for a child, right? Well, apparently not. As I was walking down the stairs to go get breakfast, he started, again, screaming at me and said something along the lines of, "Why are you walking around dressed like a promiscuous person?" Mind you, we didn't even have anyone in the house. It was just my mom, him and I, but she was sleeping so she didn't hear any of this. He was generally very weird, and then came the age when I learned about sexuality and all of its implications, so I started understanding things that were happening at the time, and that happened in the past. He never was sexually weird with me, but I therefore realized he was weird with my mom and almost constantly talking about sexual stuff when she was around. And the explanation for this was that my mom fell into depression and she didn't want to do stuff with him. So he was constantly trying to get her in the mood, not caring if I was around or not. So one day I just snapped. He was talking about sexual crap with my mom while we were dining, and I was disgusted because no kid likes to hear about their parents' fun times. So I said, "Bro, you have a hand, internet, a personal room, and toilet paper. She obviously doesn't want you, so shut the fudge up and go to your thing on your own, or at least stop talking about that when we're eating." Yes, I developed a temper since I was tired of getting bullied by this overweight. And he had the absolute audacity to say that I should be saying these things? Like, bro, you're the one who started talking about sexual stuff at the table FFS. But anyway, after that, like 3 years after, my mom still accepted his proposal and got married. A few months before that, I caught something weird, again, and it didn't seem weird at first, but when my mom explained, I was disgusted. Steve was really into cars, but in a weird way. He'd listen to engines starting and be happy about it, listen to them on loop and full volume in the house, and would show car stuff to everyone even though not a single soul in that house gave a crap about it. And so when I saw my mom and him on the couch with her trying to get away from him, showing her a video arm raised, I thought nothing of it other than, she clearly doesn't want to see whatever car crap he's showing her and will get a cramp in his arm if he stays like that for too long. So I told him, I think she's not really interested in the video you're showing her. And he, again, screamed at me for invading their couple life. And I didn't understand how a car video was invading their lives, but okay. Later on, my mom informed me that the video was in fact not about cars, but a very explicit video about libido that he was playing without headphones while I was right behind them doing my homework. A couple weird instances like that happened, but fast forward to the wedding. I still honestly don't know if I cried of joy or of sadness that day, but I did cry, and my mom was happy for once, so I tried to smile. I still don't know why she accepted to marry him, because he was being a bitch all the time. My mom has a very rare chronic illness that literally fuses her articulations with her bones, which is extremely painful, to which the only treatment that exists only slows down the process. And he already told her he would not take care of her if she was to get paralyzed because of her illness, and she needed crutches at the time to be able to move. For months after this, she realized he was cheating on her through the same app they met and was sharing all their bedroom moments and her traumatizing backstory. She confronted him, and he said he felt bad and needed someone to talk about everything. So she told him that she knew a few psychiatrists, but that none of them were reliable if he found them on dating apps, and that she felt horrible that he shared all her life with random strangers, but that somehow didn't engage the divorce process. During all the time we were all three as somewhat a family, he kept on implying that I was receiving better treatment than him from my mother because she was telling me that she loved me, but not to him. Gee, I sure wonder why. And that I was receiving way more hugs than he did. And he kept on telling me that the wheel was turning when I was screaming back at him for more nonsense that he was mad about. But one day my mom had it. She couldn't take care of her own long hair anymore because of how much pain she had in her hands, and she decided to go get them cut without Steve knowing because he was fully against it, and she came home with much shorter hair. And when he came home, he snapped and made a big deal about it, told her it made her look like an old sack and that he hated it. When she explained why she cut her hair, he answered with, "I don't care. I loved it long, so you should have kept it long." And 3 days later, she was telling me she was getting a divorce and an apartment for her and I was hyped but didn't say anything because she wanted to tell him herself. But me being me, I vomited the whole thing when we had an argument, which yet again went to, "I'm the one paying this and that, and if you're not happy about it, you're free to leave and get your own apartment," to which I answered in the heat of the moment, "Oh, do not worry about that. It's on its way." And when his jaw dropped, I realized what I just said and went upstairs from where I heard him cry. When we did move out, he tried to make me feel bad for his own actions, and in a moment where we were both alone, he told me, "Happy now? You finally got us to divorce. You your mom all for yourself now like you always wished." And I realized he was jealous of the love that my mom gave me, which is seriously weird, WTF. And I answered with, "Remind me who she's separating herself from again?" "Thank you," and I left. He tried to get to her later with the famous, "I think I'll commit suicide if you don't come back." And my mom never cared because first, if he was a coward and would never do it, and second, if he's a grown-ass adult who makes his own choices, so why would she care? Everything was fine for the first week in our new place until we realized he was stalking us, and mostly my mom's car that she had to park near the road, so he knew if she wasn't home even after the divorce and would ask her why she wasn't home, etc. He kept being creepy until one day I posted a photo of my mom with long hair holding another man's hand, of who we couldn't see the face of, who's now my current and way better stepdad than Steve ever was. Since then, he blocked us all and stopped stalking us. In short, stepdad was jealous about my mom's relationship with me, mentally abused us for it until she asked for divorce, and he still acted like a bitch because he thought marriage was a trap for her to stay in, but stopped being annoying once my mom rebuilt her life. If there's comments asking about some few other details on shadowy parts, one might answer depending on the questions, of course, but feel free to ask them. Edit. I tried to separate the text better so that it was easier to read.